Hi there, this video is about the political factors that influence the global viticulture and winemaking industry, and today we're going to look at the political factors. So hopefully by the end of the lesson you can explain what these political factors are and then explain how political factors affect the wine industry. And we've got some keywords here. We've got international and national agreements, and that's the two differences we're going to be looking at today. We've got quotas, so that's obviously the amount of wine that we can import and export. That's what a quota is, and it helps. It's a business term which helps protect an economy. And then tariffs is putting an extra tax onto any exports from another country. Again, trying to protect a particular domestic market. And then we've got compacts, which is business term again for agreements, and then we've got transfer pricing as well. And then we've got like I said, transfer pricing, which is all to do with protecting particular prices of products, and that's going to help individual wine industries. So let's have a look at the syllabus again. This is what we're going to be looking at here today, the political, and hopefully I'll explain those key terms as well as we go along. And let's get started. So a good definition of political factors. The political factors, obviously, the word politics means how like government influences a country. So the political factors affecting the global wine industry can be divided into that operate at a national scale, so within Australia, and there's government bodies are in charge of that, and then at an international level, and that's when different countries work together. So we're looking at how the government of Australia and then obviously governments of different countries work together to help the wine industry. So let's have a look at the international political content. So national governments work through various bodies to enhance the competitive environment of the global wine industry. So basically what it's trying to do is to establish a more transparent, fair and rules-based trading environment between countries. These are some of the areas that they've been trying to work on. Obviously high tariffs on imported wine in some countries of Asia and South America. Now a country will put a tariff on imports to protect its market so we don't get cheap foreign imports. So that's why countries like Asia will do that to protect their wine industry or their specific alcohol for that type of region. So remember, people like the Chinese have rice wine, so what they don't want to do is to lose that industry, and particularly South America as well, because South America is a new world wine making region, so they're going to put high tariffs on any foreign imports. High levels of domestic support provided to European winemakers. Remember, places like France, Italy, Spain, they've got long traditions of making wine, so there's a lot of domestic support for those industries. And it's the same with like Australia and its wool industry. It provides a lot of protection. And then obviously the European Union, which is a group of countries in Europe. It's not every single European country who have worked together to introduce free trade, and there's a lot of laws that help to maintain trade. It's more of an economic union rather than countries joining together. And then obviously some of the things that they do, the EU, is to give access to export subsidies. So when there's lots of wine, they will help winemakers sell their wine to other places, so there's not huge amounts of wine sitting there doing nothing in the EU. So that's how some of the international impacts. The government is also working to create a fair and stable environment for world wine trade by working with international organisations such as the EU to try and promote Australian wine in Europe, and then signing trade agreements, which is another word, a compact. That's another business term, and they're agreements which allows Australian wine to be bought and sold around the world, and it's really important. And then one big thing that we need to make sure, and we sort of talked about it yesterday in organisational bodies, is looking at ways we can maintain standards. And one of the main standards we want to maintain is the labelling, so how the alcohol content, what's in the ingredients, the size of the bottle. So that's what we talk about, the politics influencing, and that's how countries work together to support the wine industry. Let's have a look at the national context now. That's really important for Australia. As we know, the wine industry is a new industry and it's jumped from being something that's been insignificant in the 1950s to a major export in the future. So governments are responsible for managing their own economy, as we know that. To maintain strong economic growth as well as low inflation and employment helps to bolster confidence investment by other companies. So what that means basically, if you've got a strong economy, people are more likely to invest, and that strengthens the economy. Governments can also influence the amount of tax. Remember that alcohol is taxed quite heavily because it's a luxury item and the government can make a lot of money. One big thing is that in the 1990s, the Australian government started to realise that the wine industry was going really well, but we were running out of areas designed to devoted for farming. So what they started doing was to make sure that that land was available for grape grain. In addition, there are also rules, frameworks which the industry works, and there's some of the bodies that we talked about the previous. So I'm just going to go through them in a bit more detail. The Australian Wine and Brandy Corporation obviously helps to develop markets for Australian wine. They promote better decision making through knowledge development. So what they try and do is support winemakers with their business models, trying to make it financially sound so they can make profit year in, year out. And if there's issues, bushfires, natural hazards, they've got money in reserves, obviously to make up for any problems. And also they try and increase the food standards by making sure that the labelling is correct and they use the right grapes of variety for different types of wine. And then looking at advertisement as well. So that's what the Australian Wine and Brandy Corporation do. The Australian Trade Commission basically helps to win overseas contracts. So there'll be an Australian Trade Commission in London, and they work with other countries to increase wine exports. The Australian Trade Commission has about 58 offices worldwide, and always looking to get into newer markets, say for China and other places in Asia. And then you've got food standards that obviously protects the health and safety of people in New Zealand by obviously making sure that there's strict regulations. So when you get a bottle of wine in Australia, obviously you hope it's going to be a good quality and not full of sugar or something wrong, and it protects the consumer as well. So that's what the Food Standards Australia and New Zealand do. And then you've got the Grape and Wine Research Development Corporation, and what they try and do is work and maintain new varieties of grapes, new ways of growing grapes. So that's another way in which the Australian sort of government are trying to promote the wine industry. So looking back at what we've learned what a political factor is. It's the government sort of helping the industry. We know that it's not just the Australian government, it's a lot of governments around the world, and they work together to try and improve the wine industry. And then the Australian government specifically uses these different organisations to help make the industry better. So the ways in which they can make it better are through trade agreements, tariffs, quotas, as well. So I hope that sort of explains what the political factors are. And I hope you can get some of those, organisations, what they do and explain how they can promote the wine industry. All right, thanks you 12, doing a great job. Make sure you make these Cornell notes. Thanks, bye.